The Golden is the most recent retriever, with origins dating back to 1868. According to a legend, which has turned out to be pure imagination, it descended from a group of Russian circus dogs that came to England at the beginning of the 19th century. However, we learned the true story, confirmed by accurate genealogical documents, in 1952 from the great-grandchild of its creator, Lord Tweedmouth. In 1865, he purchased a yellow retriever puppy called Nu from the Greek wisdom, the only one of this colour in a black litter. The parents were probably ancestors of the current flat-coated retriever. 2 years later, a cousin of Lord Tweedmouth gave him a liver-coloured Tweedwater Spaniel called Belle. Tweedwater Spaniels were dogs known for their intelligence, courage, resilience, and retrieving skills, used along the banks of the River Tweed and the coasts of Great Britain. Lord Tweedmouth was a great sportsman and hunter, and immediately thought of breeding a dog able to retrieve game easily on difficult ground or from rivers where other dogs had difficulty. Moreover, he was a keen breeder and decided to select a strain of yellow retrievers suitable for this purpose. In 1868, he successfully mated Nu and Belle, and 4 yellow puppies suited to this purpose were born: Ada, Crocus, Primrose, and Cowslip. Over the next 20 years, he methodically crossed these dogs using the line breeding method, selective inbreeding to obtain favourable characteristics of a common ancestor, and when necessary, outcrossing to introduce new strains, taking care to then return to the original strain. He entrusted many dogs to friends, who in turn created personal strains until, towards the end of the 19th century, the yellow retriever became popular in Britain. Travellers and hunters were already exporting these dogs to the United States and Canada at the beginning of 1890, using them as working dogs. The first American golden retriever with an official pedigree dates back to November 1925. As is always the case when a breed of dog becomes extremely popular, together with keen breeders who truly love this marvellous dog, there are others who have started to breed golden retrievers only for money, but who do not have the technical know-how and right capabilities to breed typical examples with the right nature and which are healthy. Therefore, it is always advisable to contact the most well-known breeders and ask the opinion of experts in this breed. The Golden Retriever is a sturdy dog with a water-resistant coat, which protects it from bad weather and even from diving into freezing water. Although not prone to particular illnesses, some problems which require attention are beginning to crop up in breeding. The breed has heavy bones, and its structure carries a considerable weight. As is often the case in these situations, a certain amount of dysplasia is beginning to occur, especially of the hip, which at times may make it impossible to use the dog for work, in sporting or rescue activities. This is a malformation of the acetabulum of the hip bone, which being wider than normal does not hold the head of the femur correctly, and in more serious cases, this tends to become dislocated. Dysplasia can be congenital, inherited from ancestors, and this can be transmitted to offspring. However, dysplasia can also be caused by bad habits. For example, owing to the weight of the dog while it is a puppy and still young, up to about 1 year old, it is advisable not to force it to walk too far or for too long, for obvious reasons. When the dog is young, its bones are developing slowly, and the calcification process is only complete on reaching adulthood. If the parts subject to friction are overworked during the calcification phase, they may easily wear out more rapidly, causing various problems including dislocating hips. In any case, it is always better to check whether dogs to be used for breeding purposes have dysplasia, as it can be passed on. There are also other problems, which although less frequent at present, it is better to know about. At times, the bite is not up to standard, which only allows scissor bite, that is, with the upper incisors closely overlapping the lower teeth and set square to the jaws. There are also occasional cases of cataracts, especially in older dogs. However, all in all, the Golden Retriever is a sturdy and considerably healthy dog, which usually lives to a ripe old age. In the first place, the Golden Retriever is an excellent hunting dog, specialized in retrieving game where it shows exceptional qualities. Its beautiful, dense coat protects it in all weathers, and being totally water resistant, allows it to swim in freezing waters without any consequences. With its well-balanced and good nature, it can work together with other dogs without problems. Moreover, it is extremely obedient and intelligent, which allows it to learn how to work quickly, also in view of its instinct. The Retriever is extremely attentive in its work. It waits patiently, always alert by its master's side for the command to act, without becoming nervous or impatient. Once it receives the go-ahead, its extremely sensitive sense of smell allows it to hunt for the game that has been shot down. It works combining its great memory, with which it memorizes and remembers the direction, distance, and trajectory of the fallen game, with its sense of smell, which it uses to follow the trail. It works crossing the land with accuracy and self-assurance, and it is this meticulous way of working that has given it the reputation of being one of the best retrieving dogs of all time. This is work which requires intelligence, speed, resilience, memory, strength, and passion, all qualities which the Golden Retriever has in profusion. As already mentioned, although bred for hunting, this dog owes its success to the popularity it has gained outside the hunting circle. There is no doubt that this is an extremely beautiful dog, powerful and majestic, with movements which are elegant, flowing and agile, while at the same time bold, with great energy and strength. Its appearance is noble and proud, almost haughty, and the impression it transmits is of great sturdiness, always flowing and with considerable gracefulness. Its coat is flat or wavy, with attractive feathering and a dense water-resistant undercoat, hardy to all weathers. Its color ranges from gold to cream and is extremely beautiful. Its captivating appearance is why so many people want a Golden Retriever simply as an agreeable and trusty companion, which has caused it to become extremely successful in a very short time. However, beauty alone is not enough to justify this vast popularity. To become sufficiently important to grow to be a symbol of social elegance, other qualities are required, those that make the difference between a beautiful dog and a unique and outstanding one. The breed owes its success to its character and moral qualities. Sometimes it is said that a dog lacks the power of speech. This expression does not concern the Golden Retriever, as it does not need to speak. The surprising intelligence of these dogs allows them to express themselves perfectly with the means at their disposal. Just one look into those kindly, expressive, intelligent, and deep eyes, and anyone would understand what they're trying to say. A gesture, a slight whine, an eloquent bark are the means they use to emphasize the message. Their great sensitivity is another of their qualities. The Golden Retriever is a faithful friend, able to sense the mood of those around it and behave accordingly. This is why it is never over-intrusive and always respects the needs of the members of its family. It is playful and happy and loves water more than any other dog, except its close relatives, the Newfoundland and Labrador, as with its trusting and joyful nature, it has no fear of this element. Due to its steadfastness, kindness, sensitivity, intelligence, sense of smell, and extraordinary instinct, many Civil Protection Service teams have chosen to use the Golden Retriever for rescue work during natural disasters. Here too, the dogs must first be put through a training program before they can commence work. Their appearance and reassuring and kindly nature has proved to be particularly helpful when rescuing children involved in natural disasters, as it transmits trust and calmness to them. In Anglo-Saxon countries, they are also used with excellent results as guide dogs for the blind, where their qualities of docility, sense of responsibility, and balance stand out. Thanks to their extraordinary memory, they have proved to be extremely good at agility and obedience trials. This same memory in their original work of retrieving game during hunting allows them to identify and persistently memorize the spot in which the shot game fell, and allows them to remember the exercises in sporting activities, which, thanks to their extremely lively intelligence, they learn very quickly. One extremely fine quality of Golden Retrievers is that they love to work together with their master. Being able to do so makes them happy and allows them to express the best of their capabilities. This desire to work, not only to satisfy themselves but also their master, is referred to as will to please. It is only natural that a breed with so many good qualities has also become the favorite for those merely looking for a good companion for themselves and their loved ones, especially for children. The Golden Retriever has a marvelous relationship with children, formed of happiness, play, complicity, love, respect for the weaker, and protection. The breed is not naturally specialized in guarding property and defending people, as these are tasks that require a different mental structure. Nonetheless, it has considerable bulk, powerful muscles, strong and sturdy bones, agility, intuition, strong jaws and teeth, all concentrated in over 30 kilos of weight. Consequently, although it is true that the Golden Retriever is not specifically qualified as a guard dog and for defense, it has instinct and intelligence, combined with considerable strength. Therefore, as is the case for almost all dogs, in addition to the inclination to warn when a stranger comes near, its size demands respect and caution. Moreover, it would never allow anyone to harm children in its company. All the qualities listed above, its extraordinary balance, kindliness, and reliability, combined with its calm and non-intrusive nature, have led many people to want this dog as a pet. The fact that if well looked after, brushed a couple of times a week with a suitable brush, and thinned out every so often under the neck, on the ears, under the tail, and on the feet, its beautiful coat does not generally have that characteristic doggy smell, means the Golden Retriever can live even in a relatively small apartment, making this breed even more appealing to first-time dog owners. This often causes people without any training to buy this breed of dog as a companion and consequently treat them like people, spoiling and petting them, treating them like children. As a consequence, they lose their good qualities and become disobedient, tending to do exactly as they please. In the long term, this behavior could have a negative effect on their temperament, while, if the dog is handled correctly, it tends to keep all the splendid qualities described previously. Another somewhat frequent problem in dogs handled correctly is overweight or even obesity. This is appalling and must be avoided, both for the health of the dog and for the good of the breed. The golden retriever's natural aptitude to retrieve is put to good use in hunting. The British have always used it in combination with both setting dogs, setters and pointers, and hunting dogs, such as Springer Spaniels. However, when appropriately trained, this dog also proves to be a good gun dog to use on its own. Moreover, the calm and well-balanced disposition of the golden retriever, its happy and faithful nature, its mesomorphic and moderately dynamic build, make it the retriever par excellence, and a methodical and constant seeker with a peculiar trait, its memory. Its nervous reactions, much less convulsive and swift than Springers, Spaniels, Pointers or Setters, allow it to reason calmly and deliberately, and to memorize things much better than these dogs. And memory, whether this is remembering the order and location of objects to be sought or retrieved, or learning obedience exercises, is the basic condition for teaching any working dog. We do not wish to deal specifically with training retrievers, but to mention a few things that should be done for a correct approach, to prove that there are times in which beauty and brains can go hand in hand. We've already seen that even when very young, golden retrievers are extremely keen to pick up anything that catches their attention and hold it in their mouths. This propensity should be continually and suitably encouraged through stimulation and praise. When the puppy picks up an object such as a ball, toy, or anything else, we must not make the mistake of running after it, telling it off, and attempting to take the object from it. Nor must we play tug with it, as this develops the tendency to grip too tightly, which, when fully grown, will make it unwilling to release things. We should kneel in front of it, calling it gently, so that the puppy comes to us, places its paws on our chest, and simply releases the object into our hands, so that this enjoyable game can continue. Once we are sure that there is a good relationship between the young retriever and its natural propensity to retrieve, we can go on gradually to the other obedience exercises, sit, lie, stay, etc., common to any basic training. Only after these have been learned correctly, and the dog is in hand, shall we go back to practicing various retrieving exercises. The object used is a dummy, composed of a relatively soft sausage in fabric. Marking consists of teaching the dog to measure the distance between it and the thrown object to be retrieved. This distance should initially range from 20 to 30 meters, depending on the dog's natural capacity. Marking consists of throwing the dummy for a certain distance on flat, clean ground so that the dog learns to fetch it by sight. When we are sure it has learned the sight technique correctly, we can move on to throwing the dummy on dirty ground with tall grass or briars, where it is required to use its sense of smell to find the object. After a certain amount of training, the golden retriever's excellent memory allows it to retrieve several objects thrown one after another to different places. Hunting is an exercise which prepares the dog to seek. It consists in teaching it to cover the ground in depth, with a zigzag movement without missing out any areas. This hunting technique is in any case already instinctive to any dog. This can be observed when walking in a field or wood. So rather than being taught, it is merely disciplined. This can be done in several ways, such as placing different objects at the corners of a zigzag trajectory, with the wind in favor, and then encouraging the dog with an expressive movement of the hand, simultaneously moving from right to left. Line is when the dog is sent forward in a straight line. This is the phase subsequent to marking, and can be taught by centering the dog's attention on an object positioned at a certain distance in front of it. When its master orders it to retrieve, a second person hiding near the place in which the object is positioned will place another one a little further off, although still in the same direction, simultaneously calling the dog to get it used to going back to retrieve the object and continuing in this manner, increasing the distance gradually. It is extremely important to teach line correctly so that the handler can send the dog directly to the place in which it is to start the hunting, thus saving a lot of time. Handling is a combination of the previous exercises, that is, marking, retrieving, line, sending forward, and hunting, searching in a zigzag, also called lace it. The commands given are get on, line, left, right, and stop. Stop is usually given together with a sharp whistle, which the dog can hear even at great distances. These are only a few brief notions about training for hunting, aimed at arousing people's curiosity, in order to encourage them to contact an expert to obtain detailed information. As while golden retrievers have an inborn instinct for hunting, men do not, and without suitable help, they would only confuse their dogs. In any case, in any type of training, a knowledge of the nature and temperament of the dog we are dealing with must always be regarded as essential. And in the case of the golden retriever, it is kindly and sensitive, extremely willing to learn and please its master, but also delicate and susceptible to any rough, uncivil or unkind behavior towards it, which would inevitably cause depression and humiliation. General appearance: well-built dog, symmetrical and proportioned, with level movements, powerful and active. Its typical expression is sound and kindly. Characteristics: biddable, intelligent with a natural working ability. Temperament: kindly, friendly and confident. Head and skull: well chiseled and proportioned head, skull broad without coarseness. The head must be well set on the neck. The muzzle is powerful and wide. The length of the muzzle must correspond to the length of the skull. Well-defined stop. Nose preferably black. Eyes: dark brown set well apart, with well-pigmented rims. Ears: average size, positioned approximately at eye level. Mouth: strong jaws with perfectly regular and complete scissor bite. Neck: good length, clean and muscular. Forelegs: straight, with good bone structure. Shoulders well laid back. Long in blade with upper arm of equal length, placing legs vertically well under body. Elbows: close fitting. Body: well balanced and short coupled, deep through heart. Ribs deep, well sprung, level top line. Hind legs: strong, muscular loins and legs, with sturdy second thighs and well-bent stifles. Hocks well let down, straight when viewed from rear. Cow hocks are a serious fault. Feet: round and cat-like. Tail: set on and carried level with back, with length reaching the hocks, without curl at the tip. Gait and movement: powerful and steady gait with good drive, long and free stride with no sign of hackney action in front. Coat: flat or wavy with good feathering, thick with dense water-resistant undercoat. Color: any shade of gold or cream, neither red nor mahogany. A few white hairs only on the chest are permissible. Size: height at withers from 56 to 61 centimeters for dogs, from 51 to 56 centimeters for bitches. Faults: any departure from the above standard should be considered a fault to be regarded according to seriousness. Note: male animals should have apparently normal testicles fully descended into the scrotum. The Golden Retriever is also a dog suitable to be given as a gift. As the puppies look adorable, this dog is often given to children or loved ones, who however are not prepared for having a dog in their home. Before giving a gift like this, it is essential to have a good knowledge of the situation in the house the dog is to live in, and to be sure that the puppy will be welcomed and treated with dignity and competence. We would ask all owners of Golden Retrievers not to treat these marvelous dogs like ornaments, or as indicators of social status, as fashion accessories, or simply to satisfy their whims, but as sensitive friends with extraordinary qualities, which must be considered for what they are: splendid representatives of the canine species. A proper diet is essential to your dog's correct and full development, so as to be able to keep it in perfect shape and health. Some people believe that dogs can eat virtually anything, and therefore give their dogs all kinds of food, often recycling the leftovers from their own meals. This is a serious mistake, since what may be digestible to us and a source of nourishing substances often cannot be digested by dogs, or is unable to be metabolized. A final piece of advice. It sometimes happens that a dog loses its appetite and refuses food for 1 or even 2 days. This is a normal occurrence, and in these cases it is a good rule not to always leave a full bowl of food down for the dogs. Instead, the food should be removed after a short time. Present the bowl of food again at the following mealtime after having changed its contents. In the event of loss of appetite lasting for more than 2 days without the presence of side symptoms, or if it is accompanied from the outset by symptoms of general suffering or exhaustion, consult your vet immediately. It is very likely to be an ordinary ailment, but in this case it is not worth taking a risk, and it is better to seek reassurance from an expert. We will now begin with a brief description of a dog's digestive apparatus. As in all carnivores, the stomach is of large dimensions, whereas the intestine is relatively short. Initial digestion in the stomach takes from 3 to 8 hours, then the food passes into the intestine where the nourishing substances are assimilated, which are then transmitted to all the organs through the blood. The stomach's large capacity and the slow digestion process allow abundant meals to be eaten at fairly spaced out intervals. Naturally, to keep dogs in excellent health, it is necessary to provide them with all the elements that they require, that is, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, and minerals. When dogs were carnivorous predators, these elements were assimilated by dogs through the animals that they hunted, and which were generally herbivores. Afterwards, civilization has led it to feed differently, but it will always be necessary to provide dogs with the appropriate substances. Dogs produce energy from their diet, which is then used for the maintenance of vital functions and movement. The more active a dog is, the greater the energy intake it will require. Without going into detailed food studies that would require a specific treatise, we can simply say that dogs particularly require fats or lipids, both of animal and vegetable origin, and it is these which provide the necessary energy and which accumulate in the organism to provide possible energy reserves. The proteins that make up the large part of the animal's body are also essential. These are indispensable to the formation of all the tissues, especially muscles, and also constitute the basis of hormones and the blood. They therefore represent an irreplaceable element in a proper diet, even more so in puppies, which must build their bodies. Sources of protein are meat, cheese, eggs and fish, which are well digested by dogs, and also soybean flour, peanuts, legumes, which are however digested with more difficulty. An excess of proteins is harmful and can lead to various kinds of disorders, depending on the conditions. Carbohydrates are not essential to a dog's diet. They are, however, very useful at the end of pregnancy. Starch, which is the most important carbohydrate present in the diet, is poorly digested by dogs and needs to undergo preliminary treatment such as cooking, flaking, etc. This is why if you use pasta or rice as a food for your canine friend, it needs to be boiled for a long time to eliminate a large part of the starch present. Fibre, which often accompanies carbohydrates, is especially useful in the diet of sedentary dogs, since it helps to prevent constipation, given the speed with which it passes through the alimentary tract. Vitamins are also necessary, even if in infinitesimal amounts. They are found in many vegetables and are synthesized by herbivorous animals. This is the reason why when a carnivore kills its prey, generally herbivorous, it immediately feeds on the intestines, where there are residues of partially digested vegetable matter. This also explains why, to your considerable annoyance, your dog often eats the excrement of herbivorous animals as soon as it gets the chance. A build-up of vitamins can be harmful, and therefore, if you use pre-prepared feed, you should carefully check the substances contained in the feed before adding supplements, and if in doubt, consult your vet. Minerals are essential to the diet and are supplied by foods. Deficiency in certain minerals such as calcium, iron, potassium, sodium, copper and others can cause abnormal growth in puppies, also with serious consequences and general debility in adult dogs, or the onset of problems of varying degrees. There is excellent pre-packed feed on the market, both moist and dry types, that provide all the necessary elements for initial growth, and to then keep your dog in top shape. Even if you use pre-packed feed, you will, however, be able to give some fruit or other food which your dog will find tasty, taking care not to exaggerate and not to give harmful substances such as sweets, fried foods, rice dishes, fresh or soft doughy bread that are extremely harmful and which can also have very serious long-term consequences. Instead, if you want to prepare the food yourself, then follow the advice of the breeder who sold you the dog, or your vet's advice. As a general rule, it is worth knowing that meat, ideally beef, is essential. If pork meat is given, it must be well cooked in order to avoid infections. Poultry, meat and rabbit are also fine, provided that they are completely boneless. Giblets, although less rich in nourishing substances, are well liked. Fish is an excellent food and is best given cooked. It is particularly advisable for low-fat diets for dogs with digestive or skin problems. It is also an excellent means with which to make the diet less monotonous. Eggs are appetizing and supply many nourishing substances. They are particularly advisable for puppies and suckling females. Yolks can be consumed raw, whereas the albumin should always be cooked. Fats, such as lard and oil, are always readily accepted by dogs and are particularly useful during moments of work or physical effort. 1 or 2 teaspoonfuls of oil added to food are always beneficial. Dry bread is a good energy source, but it must be well dried. It is also useful for cleaning your dog's teeth and for keeping them in good condition. Pasta and rice are very useful, but as we have already said, they should be cooked very well to eliminate starch, which is not easily digested. Fruit and vegetables, even if not essential, can be given to dogs that appreciate them. However, the nutritional intake is very slight and is only worthy of note for the intake of roughage. Needless to say, the final element which is essential to nutrition is water. Fresh and plentiful, that must be available at all times. If in a bowl, it should be changed as often as possible, especially during hot spells. It is absolutely indispensable to dogs that eat dry and not moistened feed. The final aspect of the diet to take into consideration is the frequency of meals. From birth, puppies have their meals by following times that are spaced out by the instinct of the mother and the other siblings in the litter. The feeds are gradually reduced during weaning and are integrated with suitable foods that should be recommended by an experienced breeder or a vet. Between 1 and 3 months of age, weaned puppies should have 4 meals at regular intervals. From 4 to 7 or 8 months, the number of meals can be reduced to 3, further reduced to 2 meals at 8 to 18 months, and afterwards, if desired, down to just 1 meal a day, even if it is not harmful to continue with 2. On the contrary, this is recommended by certain individuals. The decision to have a dog is an important one to make, which must be thought over carefully without ignoring some useful basic information. The vaccination prophylaxis must always be carried out with utmost care to try and protect not only the puppies but also adult dogs from the most common illnesses. Generally speaking, a puppy leaves the breeder after having been vaccinated at around 40 to 45 days with a triad vaccine against canine distemper, infectious hepatitis and parvovirus. A second quadrivalent vaccination, also including leptospirosis as well as the 3 ailments already mentioned, is generally carried out after 3 weeks. An additional vaccination can be carried out after a month, again quadrivalent, to be then replaced annually throughout the dog's lifespan. A dog can be vaccinated only if it is in perfect health and thus also free from endoparasites. Appropriate antihelminthic treatment must be carried out normally twice a year. Different types of ascarids exist, each of which specifically infests an animal species, man included, and there is practically no risk of zoonosis, that is, transmission of the infestation from dog to man. It is important that dogs are also kept free from ectoparasites, that is, those that live on dogs such as fleas and mites, both of which are hematophages. Moreover, fleas act as an intermediate host for a type of taenia. Numerous specific products exist to free dogs from these annoying parasites, but one must not forget to also carry out appropriate disinfesting operations in the areas where dogs live. The arrival of spring exacerbates the problems caused by undesired guests, the mites that arrive along with the initial spring warmth. A run in the meadows through woods, perhaps near groups of farmhouses and farms where there is livestock, can result in our canine friend returning home with mites. Not necessarily, since some factors may exist which make a dog more or less susceptible, also depending on its general state of health, that can influence whether or not a dog will pick up these acari. They represent a grave danger to dogs because they transmit pyroplasmosis, a serious infection carried by protozoa of the Pyroplasma species that affects pets and also causes death if not discovered and treated in time. The symptoms in its acute form are represented by fever, also sthenic, asthenia, pallor of the apparent mucous membranes, and hyperchromia of the urine that can also become brown-black in colour. In advanced cases, jaundice and a comatose state which could possibly result in death. The mites suck blood for 2 or 3 weeks, and once having mated, the female then detaches itself from the animal and deposits the eggs a week later. The deposited larvae, recognizable by their reddish colour, are minute, like tiny beads. They also look for a host on which to climb, sucking blood for several days. They then detach themselves and after a few days change into octopede nymphs of bluish colour. They become adults towards August or September. With the arrival of autumn, the adults immediately upon hatching then lay dormant in cracks in the ground until the next spring. In general, the mites attach themselves to less thick skin such as ears, armpits, groin, between the digits of the paws. Therefore, as a precautionary measure, we should always examine our canine friends for signs of any undesired guests after a walk in the open. Correct dog hygiene starts with coat care. For most breeds, but not all, it is advisable to brush the coat almost daily in order to remove the hairs that have reached the end of their life cycle. The coat of many breeds requires specialized grooming, which is to be carried out several times a year. One must not generalize about the fact that a shiny coat is a sign of good health, since in some breeds it should have a tendency to be dull. Dogs must not be washed too often so as not to damage the protective function of the sebaceous glands. The skin in normal conditions should always look clean without dandruff deposits or desquamations of any kind. Should cutaneous alterations appear such as eczema, alopecia areas, i.e. hair loss and failure of hair regrowth, thickening or the appearance of abnormal pigmentation, consult your vet without delay. Cutaneous alterations due to mycosis or mange are spread by contagion, but only in the case of particularly debilitated animals and when one fails to observe the most basic hygienic rules. Claws must also be checked periodically. These are normally worn down in dogs that undergo normal physical activities, but it may be necessary to shorten them with the aid of a special tool. Oral hygiene should never be overlooked, and especially in miniature breeds, tartar removal is necessary from time to time because it can cause pyorrhea and bad breath. Certain bones are available on the market that, besides constituting a treat for our four-legged friend, act as a natural toothbrush. In puppies aged between 4 and 6 months, the deciduous dentition is gradually replaced by the permanent one. Regular inspections of the mouth are advisable during this period to check that everything is okay. The existence of cardiopulmonary filariasis, a serious disease caused by a nematode parasite, Filaria immitis, or the blood and heart, has been known for several centuries, as has been known the important transmission mechanism of the disease by the mosquito for about a century. However, it is only in the last 20 years, due to the rapid diffusion of filariasis in dogs kept for company and work dogs, that research institutes, pharmaceutical companies and vets have paid increasing attention to the problem. It is therefore important that dog owners are also aware, even if in general terms, of the existence and phenomena of the parasitosis. The transmission of the disease occurs through the mosquito's sting, which takes up the filaria larvae by sucking blood from an infected subject to then inoculate them into another healthy dog. The high contagiousness of the parasitosis is therefore easily understandable, in addition to its seasonality, spring-summer. During a period of around 6 months, the larvae in the dog's blood grow into adult worms that are situated in the heart and pulmonary arteries. In turn, the adult filariae produce small larvae called microfilariae which will live in the blood. The dogs most affected are obviously those that spend more or less long periods outside, hence gun dogs, work dogs, and those that sleep in the open. The damage induced by the presence of the filariae is of considerable seriousness for that which concerns the cardiocirculatory function, and initially shown as a tendency for dogs to tire easily and the presence of a cough or respiratory dysfunction. The vet giving treatment at this stage will perform different clinical and laboratory tests that will confirm the presence of the parasites. On the contrary, the damage caused by chronic cardiopulmonary filariasis is extremely serious. The alteration of the cardiocirculatory function is often accompanied by liver and kidney lesions and a state of generalized hypersensitivity in the whole organism. The prevention programs that have only been practicable for a few years thanks to the use of specific new drugs are simple to carry out and do not involve toxicity risks for dogs. After having carried out a test to ensure the absence of a previous infestation, the oral administration of a medicine once a month for the duration of the entire hot season will give dogs effective protection, also if they are stung by an infected mosquito.